Good Tuesday and a less rainy afternoon. This is William Theo for PTV News Now. Kicking off our afternoon news, some 68,000 eligible rice farmers in Central Visayas just received cash assistance in the amount of 5,000 pesos each from the Rice Competitive Enhancement Fund or RCEF. So says the Region 7 Department of Agriculture Office, which announced yesterday the release and distribution of the 5K assistance from the rice farmers' financial assistance to its intended beneficiaries across the provinces of Cebu, Bohol, Negros Oriental, and Siquijor Province. The budget allocation for these farmer beneficiaries for this year is pegged at 699 million, of which nearly half or 340 million pesos has just been disbursed and distributed to the aforementioned 5,000 farmers who represent half of the total of the 136,000 rice farmers in Central Visayas. Under the RFFA program, only farmers actively cultivating 10 square meters or 2 hectares of rice plants and enrolled in the registry system for basic sectors in agriculture are eligible for the 5,000 pesos cash assistance. Meanwhile, the fate of the Israeli hostages in Hamas captivity for nearly 11 months or 336 days looks bleak, with the latest developments going on in the Holy Land and with the Israeli government. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, prompted by his instinct for self-preservation and threats from his far-right supporters in his fragile coalition in parliament, made it crystal clear there would be no ceasefire deal unless his demand for control of the strip of land that borders Gaza and Egypt, known as the Philadelphia Corridor, is met. This despite the mass protest of tens of thousands of families, friends, and supporters of the 6 hostages found dead in a tunnel in Rafah, Gaza, and those still in Hamas captivity. Netanyahu, in a televised appearance, begged for forgiveness from the families and the kin of the 6 slain Israeli and American hostages for failing to bring them back alive. Then he blamed Hamas for the tragic death of the 6 hostages and vowed to exact a heavy price for such loss. But he ruled out green-lighting any ceasefire proposal, despite the massive protests on the streets and U.S. President Joe Biden's sentiments of him not doing or caring enough to bring the hostages home. The prospect of reaching a deal the Netanyahu government and Hamas can live with is truly in limbo, as both sides are dug in their positions on who controls the Philadelphia Corridor. But more of the blame will ultimately be placed on Netanyahu, since Israel has more to offer, and with Hamas in a position of having nothing to lose except their sorry lives and the hostages. After a Supreme Court ruling allowing states to dismantle makeshift housing in public spaces and arrest the people living there, the state of California takes on a new approach to mitigate the dilemma of hundreds of thousands of people in the state seeking shelter or a roof over their heads. VOA's Ann Rice narrates this Angela Bagdasarian report.
Officials in Los Angeles County clear out tent camps following a June U.S. Supreme Court ruling that allows communities to prohibit people from sleeping or living in public spaces, even if they have nowhere else to go. America has estimated 650,000 homeless people on a given night, according to U.S. figures. Sheridan, who didn't give his last name, is among them.
Basically what happens is they have a war against the homeless, okay?
He moved to California from Wyoming, but says his dreams didn't work out. He found himself without a home, but did not want to live in a shelter. So he's been living on the streets for the last 5 years.
The reason I've never gone into a shelter and bridge housing or whatever they call it is because I've got grievances with the city and the county. They know that the people making the offers are not really trying to help. All they're trying to do is help their political career.
After the High Court ruling, California Governor Gavin Newsom signed an executive order allowing state and local officials to dismantle homeless encampments, saying his goal is to help people who can't help themselves.
This is not about criminalization. What's criminal is neglecting people that are struggling and suffering and dying on our watch. That's criminal. What's criminal is people don't have restrooms. What's criminal is people literally putting their lives at risk every single night. People are found dead, stabbed to death.
In August, Newsom signed 2 bills to address the problem. One makes it easier to move people with no place to live into temporary housing for longer than 30 days. The other makes it easier to build additional affordable housing around the state. But some legal experts say the 2 measures are not enough.
There aren't enough affordable housing units. There aren't enough shelter spaces. There isn't anywhere for people to go.
According to a federally required count, more than 75,000 people are homeless on an average night in Los Angeles County alone. Dash, who also declined to give his last name, says the problem also affects people like him who live and work in the city.
It's a really complicated issue. I've had my experience with dealing with the homeless. I've been assaulted before. I've had the police involved.
While the recent Supreme Court ruling makes it easier for communities to remove homeless people from city streets and sidewalks, the complex issue is far from resolved. For Angelina Bagdasaran in Los Angeles, California, Anna Rice, VOA News.
And we've come to the end of this afternoon's program. Join us again later on this program's evening edition. And as always, stay connected by keeping it here for news you can rely on. I am William Theo, and thank you for watching PTV News Now.